Good evening. Today is Monday, October 25, and we're meeting in the Village of Pleasantville Village of Board meeting. This is the second of our regular meetings in October. Oddly, 2 Mondays in a row because of some various schedule snafus and because of Columbus Day. Next month we have 2 meetings. Those are on Monday, November 8 and Monday, November 22. Those are our 2 normal meeting dates. As always, you can watch us on Verizon or Optimum Cable TV, and also pick up an on-demand webcast at pctv76.org. So I have a few announcements to make, but I'll hold on to them for the moment. The first item we have on our agenda tonight is the quarterly update from Police Chief Erik Grutzner. This is the 3rd such update he has made since our police reform process suggested that this was one of the ways in which both the board and the community would know more about the activities of the police department. Welcome, Chief Grutzner.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to allow me to speak to you and to the community about how the operations of their police department are operating. As the mayor said, this is the 3rd in our now ongoing series of opportunities. And I would just ask that as we move forward, if, I'm definitely more interested in what you have to say and what type of information you might be looking for that's not being presented. So please let me know. This is definitely, I intend this to be a dialogue, and I hope that we continue to just get as much feedback from you all as possible. So, whenever you're ready to begin.
All right. As you will see shortly, Grutzner is well on his way to becoming a PowerPoint whiz.
Well.
I'm going to put him in a slideshow.
Thank you, Shane.
No, we're good. I have it.
Okay.
Yep, got it on my computer.
You want to duck back a little bit? So, in the 3 months, July, August, and September is the current quarter we're discussing. We had 942 calls for service that we recorded. I'm not going to go through the list, but you see, as usual, it is a wide variety of different types of cases, some of which are routine, some of which are anything but. But we continue to respond to calls as necessary. Obviously, July and August in the village tends to be a little bit more of a downtime, but then September comes back with a bang as the kids are back to school and Pace University is back in session. So. So those numbers there are pretty close to typical for what we would expect from a 3-month time frame. Next. Our community policing initiatives for the past 3 months. Back in September, we returned back to having our officers attend the VIP soccer games. I'm sure everybody knows the VIP is the group here in Pleasantville deals with giving the opportunity for people with special needs, the opportunity to get out and recreate and spend some time together. So they've kindly invited us to come and visit. And so our officers, as they're working, if they're available and call volume is not an issue, we'll stop by and say hello and get to know everybody. We started some other new initiatives, which actually technically started in October, but we have continued to expand our reach with members of the special needs community here in the village, and we consider that an extremely important partnership that we have with those groups. Officer Casal has been out on the bike quite a bit. I know he's mentioned to me, a few of you have had the opportunity to speak with him. We think it's a great tool, continues to be a great tool. We'll see how long, I don't think he'll be riding tomorrow, but we'll see how long he can continue to be out there and be interacting with the community on the bicycle. Next, please. Our youth officer, one of our youth officers, Detective Zane, is back at the middle school teaching the 8th graders that we've done for years.
Having left there as a student 15 or so years ago,
exactly,
right?
Yes. A number of our officers are when they walk back through those halls, are returning to their alma mater. We attended the football games, homecoming events, and the bonfire for homecoming at the high school. And also our officers were out in front for the first few days of school, greeting students and faculty and parents back to the building. So next, please. So here you have a picture of our Lieutenant Jesse Woolman with the Pleasantville Panther. This is on the first day of school, right out front. So obviously we
the unmasked Panther.
Yes, exactly. I think the rule is always you never remove your head, but in this case we'll make an exception.
Lots of people have tried to chop her head off.
So obviously this is
goes with the job, right?
this is Mary's final back to school, and I say it every opportunity I get. The partnership that we have with the schools has been tremendous. We look forward to working closely with, obviously with Mary's successor, and continue our relationship with the administration and the staff in the buildings. It's been a valued partnership that I can't say enough about, and that is definitely not. I don't want to say it's the exception, not the rule, but it's a partnership we take very seriously, and we realize just how wonderful that those opportunities are. So next. In addition, community policing, back on August 4th in this room, we had a press conference which announced our official launching of our Hope Not Handcuffs program. For those of you who are not aware, Hope Not Handcuffs is an opioid diversion program, a pre-arrest diversion program that allows people who are in need of assistance for an opioid use disorder or any substance use disorder to come to the police department, not risk arrest, and be sent into an appropriate treatment and triage. So Hope Not Handcuffs is a not-for-profit that is largely in Orange County and upstate, but they have moved their way into Putnam County, and along ourselves and 14 other police departments in Westchester all joined on with Hope Not Handcuffs. We announced that here, and so we're very proud of that work and continuing that partnership. And lastly, the ceremony at the Mount Pleasant Recreation Building that many of you were at and attended to honor the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I was honored to have the opportunity to speak at that presentation, and it was just obviously the 20th anniversary was a stark reminder for all of us. But I think it was an extraordinarily touching and well done presentation. Showed a great deal of partnership between ourselves and the town of Mount Pleasant. I was honored to speak with Chief Oliva and also share the stage with a number of other speakers, some former and current military, former lieutenant from the FDNY. So it was a wonderful event, and I was very proud to be a part of it.
And I might add, spoke beautifully, and you can catch that whole event at pctv76.org.
Next, please. So some calls of note. So we were notified that there was a get-together that was marketed towards younger people under the age of 21, back-to-school party. If you want to just jump ahead one picture. So we were sent this picture by a concerned citizen who had seen it out in public. So I know we do a lot of marketing for the village, but I don't know that we ever advertise that we hold the biggest glow party in New York State. But so that was that was going to happen in the village.
I don't know. It seems logical to me. I
didn't hear about it. It's an Oktoberfest.
So we got word of this a few days in advance. The venue does a very good job of being responsible as far as not serving alcohol. It's marketed as and is definitely intended to be an alcohol-free event. But what they'll do is they'll bring in potentially someone with a large social media following to come in and to attend the event, and then charge everyone else to come in. So we do have concerns about people trying to sneak alcohol or other substances into the event. We have concerns about people going in and going out to drink alcohol. You put a number of underage kids in a large party type venue together, and obviously those types of bad decisions were our concern. So next. So we worked very hard leading up to the event.
Question?
Do you have a question?
No, I was just wondering, are you continuing about that? Because I was wondering what happened.
A little bit of follow-up, yep. Okay. So we moved it to our detective division, who one of our intel partners is the Westchester County Real-Time Crime Center. So we worked together to check social media, get an anticipation of what we could expect. We went down, we spoke to the owners of the venue, we spoke to the promoters, kind of let them know that we were aware of the situation. Not that obviously there was anything that they shouldn't be doing, but just to liaison with them and to share our concerns. And they were extremely professional, extremely helpful, very interested in making sure that it remained a safe event. The event went off without a hitch. Large turnout for the event. There was one incident that happened inside the event, and we're literally seeing people. The participants are coming from all over Westchester County and probably farther away for this. So there was one event that happened inside the event, and luckily we had built the relationships and already kind of laid the groundwork. So the follow up to that was much cleaner and simpler than it would have been had we not done that work. So good news there, just showing cooperation and a little bit of foresight and preliminary work that really paid dividends. Next, please. So September 9th, an 18-year-old man with special needs begins to lose the ability to self-regulate his behavior. His mother escorts him outside and remains inside the house because he's very agitated and calls the police. So when we arrived at the house, he was outside. The first officer on the scene encountered him in the backyard. And although we've been to the house before and we have a relationship with this young man, he was in an agitated state. So he ended up rushing at the officer. The officer ended up safely taking him to the ground, and then a number of us were basically able to keep him safely restrained on the ground until an ambulance and a paramedic could arrive. So the paramedic has now on board basically sedatives that they keep on board, but they are controlled substances, and so they have to get approval to administer them. So there was a phone call, there was a slight delay in the process before the actual drugs could be administered for him to get the approval to administer the drugs. The reason I bring that up, I think it was probably about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so that we had to keep him restrained on the ground for the paramedics to get there, get the authorization, and administer the dosage. The reason I bring this up is this was the house where we sort of realized we needed something. So in a previous incident at the same house a number of years ago, the subject was again on the ground, and it took 2 hours for someone to go to the hospital, get the doctor to sign off on it, get the medicine, the sedative prescribed, and then come back and administer it. And this young man he's a big boy, and so we were not convinced that should we let him up, it would be in his best interest or in the safety of him or anyone else to do that. So the officers literally had to stay with him on the ground for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Because of that incident, we lobbied to make sure that at least the controlled substances are on the paramedics' vehicle. They have them with them. So we cut that time from 2 hours down to 15 minutes. And that includes response time. So obviously, it's an unfortunate situation. The family is working hard to find solutions for their family member, as every family of a child with special needs does. But at least we have been able to incorporate, when safety becomes an issue, we've been incorporate some better practices and really, honestly, a much better, in both instances. Eventually, he was safely transported to the hospital, but that 2 hour wait is obviously not something that we were comfortable with, and it turns out that the work was well worth it to move that on. Next, please. Oh, okay. August 13th, another call I was here for. We got a 911 call of a man down at the country club, and when we responded, he had suffered a heart attack, and he was not responsive. He was not breathing. He did not have a heartbeat. So the people who had seen him, who were there with him, began CPR, which is critical in these types of cases. We were on scene immediately, but obviously for someone to have the foresight not only to call 911 to begin CPR, we took over the CPR, we started to administer oxygen, we hooked him up to the AED, and he was brought back. So by the time he was loaded back up into the ambulance, he had regained consciousness. He was obviously extremely disoriented, but he was brought back. It's really no other. He was saved. There's no other way to say it. And it was a combination of the officers on the scene, the people who saw what originally happened. Obviously, the ambulance crew that arrived immediately, the paramedic that arrived immediately. So just the system worked exactly the way we would want it to when this type of emergency happens. So, anyway.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So staffing and overtime. So we saw a slight uptick in our overtime hours from this quarter to last quarter. And if you could, next slide, we'll talk a little bit about where those numbers, do a little deeper dive into it. So I know it's very difficult to see this. You all have it up on your screens, right? So most of the numbers stayed. Can we zoom in on that a little bit? So again, that's 3 quarters now. That's all of the data that we've had for each one of these presentations side by side. We've seen the hours stay relatively consistent, some ups and downs here and there. You'll see first column is that tour coverage. Tour coverage represents what we call holes in the schedule. We start with a yearly schedule. You take out the vacations, you take out the leaves and all that other things, and then you build. We have the ability to, we have certain officers who schedules are flexible, so we fill in as much as we can. Any extra shifts that remain after that process, we call that tour coverage. And with the onboarding of our 2 newest officers back in May, we saw those numbers start to decline, and we continued to see those numbers remain low, even though we were into the heart of the vacation season this now with July and August and September. We did see an increase in sick time. A lot of that is related to a couple of long-term illnesses. Everyone's back, everyone's recovered, but we did have a few situations where officers needed to attend to things that didn't happen on duty, so they needed to take sick time for that. So we did see a little bit of an uptick in those numbers, but in general, most everything else pretty much stayed the same. I don't see any other, I don't know if there's any other issues or anything else the board wants me to dive a little bit deeper into. Or?
So the one thing I'm curious about, obviously, your manpower is not totally fungible. So you had an extra person on the department after May, and yet the overtime went up instead of down?
So at the last quarterly meeting, we talked a little bit about, so if you look and see, so our staffing necessarily, we saw, like I said, we saw a great decrease in the tour coverage numbers. Those numbers were cut in half. But when the sick time goes up, when COVID comes back as it did, as we experienced effects of the surge over the summer. In quarter 2 we had a number of special events with the end of school and things like that. So let's put it this way. If we have, and I struggle with this all the time, but the way the schedule is laid out, it's never as clean as it seems. So we put more officers in. They definitely take overtime shifts off. But because we have an officer who works 20 shifts in a week, that doesn't mean every month that we have that officer. We have 20 less overtime shifts a week because there's overlapping. There's people who we have certain shifts that have more officers on them than others. Just the nature of the way the schedule. We don't have squads, so I believe that without those hires, our numbers, especially as we started to do special events again, those numbers would be much higher. I believe that our overtime numbers are very good as far as the amount of money that we've paid out so far this fiscal year, and we attribute that directly to the new hires that we brought on board.
Okay.
Good. Next. So our enforcement activity, as I said, we do anticipate, spring and fall are usually sort of, summer and winter you get less traffic enforcement done, just because of the, summer there's not a lot of people on the roads, and winter, it's a little less, you have bad weather days, you have things like that. So these numbers sort of match what we would expect to see as far as our enforcement. Again, traffic enforcement, doing traffic posts are not necessarily, we're not there to write tickets, we're not there to make money, and I'm sure all of you understand this and realize this. We're there to positively interact, we're there to solve a problem. If we can be visible and slow someone down, we're just as happy to do that as we are to pull them over, just as happy as that to write a ticket. So, we've never looked at enforcement as, we don't look at the numbers to judge of the effectiveness of an officer. We understand that that we have certain traffic issues and problems to solve, which we'll talk about a little bit more in coming up. And we expect the officers to be proactive. We assign them to certain locations as necessary, but we don't necessarily look at tickets as the end-all be-all of how we judge how the job our officers are doing. So we're happy at this point with those enforcement numbers and our continued presence at hotspots and locations that require it throughout the year. Next. No personnel complaints. 3 quarters in a row. So our personnel and staffing issues, we've hired 2 new parking enforcement officers, community service workers here in the village. Jalen LeBoy was hired at the resolution was approved by the board on the meeting on the 23rd. Sarah Winston was approved at the meeting on September 13th, and so they both started the day after that. They are both working out fine. Obviously, they have some pretty big shoes to fill, as our longtime parking enforcement officer, Marion Boone, is retiring next month coming up. She has done a tremendous job for us in her time here.
Her time being what, 17 years, I think.
Yeah. So she, it's funny because when you do enforcement work, whether it's parking enforcement or traffic enforcement or any kind of enforcement, usually you come in and everybody goes, oh my gosh, like, so all they're going to do, write tickets. And Marion came in and everybody, Marion got everybody in line. Everybody was concerned when Marion was walking down the street. But at this point now, she is absolutely a part of this community. She is, she's been an incredibly valuable resource to us in the police department. There's no higher compliment I can pay than she gets it. She just gets it. She understands what the job entails, and that is a very difficult job to get. So we will miss her extremely. She has gone above and beyond to train both Jalen and Sarah to the best of her ability. We talk regularly about what else they need to know, what other opportunities we need to provide for them. She has absolutely jumped in with both feet in securing the legacy of the parking enforcement as she takes her leave of us. So I can't say enough about her and the job that she's done for us, especially in these last couple months, and we are absolutely going to miss her when she's gone. And then our crossing guards participated in training right in the first week of school. It was training that we've provided to them previously, provided it 2 years ago. It's through PERMA, through our insurance carrier. They send someone down and they just walk them through sort of what you need to know to safely and effectively cross kids as a crossing guard. So for some of our guards, they're new. They did not have the training 2 years ago, but everyone who had it previously was still, attended and got it again. So all of our guards have received that updated training. Next. So for patrol, we continued to do it's called Medicine in Bad Places. It's through a partnership with a not-for-profit called Guardian Revival, which is committed to improving the lives and situations of veterans and first responders. This is an expensive. It is it's combat medicine, basically. It is tourniquets. If you remember in our last presentation, we had a situation where an officer needed to apply a tourniquet to a woman who cut herself at home. So this is not just necessarily for, we do so much training for the big event, the big incident that happens. But that training can be used when the big event happens right in someone's kitchen. And so we continue to send our officers to this medicine in bad places for them to become more comfortable with administering tactical medicine and combat first aid. And then additionally, we partnered with PVAC, and they provided us with CPR and stop the bleed training, which, obviously things that we need to remain current on, but also just always to have that refresher going on. So again, a wonderful partnership with PVAC that they were able to make their membership available to provide that training for us. Next. In the detective division, two of our two youth officers both attended the State of New York Police Juvenile Officers Association Conference. So Detective Zane participated in a 40-hour course and is now a certified community resource officer. And what that is basically, if you think of what a school resource officer does, which is really find solutions to problems, really integrate themselves into the community to not just solve problems, but to potentially prevent problems before they happen. The Juvenile Officers Association has created a course to expand on that and to make that a community resource officer. So we currently have Detective Zane, who's been trained in that. We have a sergeant who is attending that training actually this week, because we think it's obviously appropriate for this community to have as many people as possible who are trained and working towards finding solutions and having us become a resource for the community if they need anything. Detective Charletti at the same conference attended the Advanced Juvenile Officer Conference. We like to say that Detective Charletti is now our most advanced juvenile officer. I'm juvenile, like juvenile. Sorry. All right.
His skills, not his
There we
age,
go.
right.
There.
Is your most juvenile officer?
Yeah. So, but that's a course. So, juvenile officers are trained to handle any case in which a juvenile is the victim, suspect, or witness to a crime. The advanced course really drills down on the interview skills, the conversational skills, a lot of interpersonal type of things. The first part of the course, the basic course, really talks about the law, what you can do, what you can't do, what you should do, what you should not do. But the advanced course really hones in on good interviews, good relationship building, how important it is to build trust, maintain trust, be able to talk to these kids when potentially they're at their most vulnerable and at their worst. So very excited to have him trained in that.
So the advanced cell phone investigation course is where he learns to interrogate juveniles using WeChat and text.
So yeah. Yes, we did have the advanced cell phone investigation course, and obviously, in this day and age, cell phones, cameras, those are the keys to many of our investigations. And so we were lucky enough to get Detective Zane into that school and let him provide that training, or have him provided that training.
Interesting.
Next, please. So some areas of concern for the community and for the department as we move into the next quarter. Obviously, stolen vehicles. We've had a continuing rash of vehicles being stolen. It is an ongoing process. Unfortunately, the intel that is out there is that this is not one group. This is not one, one group of kids or people or persons who are doing this. That this has become a trend. So.
Well,
They're all, or virtually all, unlocked, right?
I'm sorry, oh, the vehicles?
Yeah.
So, we have not yet had a stolen vehicle from the jurisdiction that was not unlocked with the key fob in the vehicle.
Jeez. Wow.
So, and
Well,
the
and-
reason
and-
for that is mainly because, well, first of all, it's because these kids don't know how to hotwire cars. These are crimes of convenience. These are crimes of opportunity. So, as Pleasantville continues to have situations where they can come here and find them, they will keep coming back and find these vehicles in this condition. And
Which
continue
I mean, I said this the last meeting, folks need to lock their car and take the key in for their own protection, but also to avoid us getting the reputation as a place with a lot of unlocked cars with the keys in them.
It's
Right.
and we are definitely not. This is a county-wide. This is a regional problem. These types of problems happen in Rockland County and Putnam County. In this area, we have groups of perpetrators coming in from out of state, New Jersey, Connecticut, and they recognize that this is fertile ground for these types of crimes.
Well, used cars are worth a lot more than they were just a year or two
Sure,
ago.
and we
Parts,
see
too.
we see some of them taken for their intrinsic value,
Yeah.
the car itself or potentially the parts. A lot of times we see them taken as it's
Joyride.
something to do. It's a joyride type of thing, and then those cars are usually recovered somewhere out of state, oftentimes. But we do have incidents. We had an incident last week or the week before where there was a pursuit involved, and after the car crashed up north on the Taconic, the operators fled into the woods. And now we're talking about, this isn't just joyriding anymore. This is a serious threat to public safety. We've had a vehicle that was taken from our jurisdiction involved in more serious crimes out of state, and so we do take this seriously. So we would ask. I understand the convenience of leaving the key in the car and the car unlocked, but every time it happens, we kind of put out another notice via email asking the community to please be mindful of the risks associated with leaving your keys or even your valuables inside your cars, because they just, it's very easy. It's very easy to walk around town at 2 o'clock in the morning. You'll never be detected. As soon as you see headlights, you duck behind something. You'll never be seen. And then invariably the next morning, we get multiple calls from one neighborhood where they went through and they took out all the cash, they took out all the sunglasses, they took out all the valuables that they could see, and 2 or 3 cars are now missing. So we just, again, please ask the community to participate with us and to make themselves safe. Parking and pedestrian concerns. Obviously, as back to school came back up on our radar, the parking concerns around the schools, especially at pickup time, and then pedestrian concerns. We have people who are potentially blocking crosswalks, blocking sidewalks. There's a lot of construction, as we'll talk about in the next point, a lot of construction going on, not just the big projects you see, but just contractors working at people's homes and things like that. And sometimes those trucks aren't always parked in the best spots, especially if somebody wants to get there first thing to get an early jump on the day and the kids have yet to go to school. So we're just going to ask residents to please be mindful of that. Please, if you see your contractor is parked in a crosswalk or parked on the sidewalk, please let them know that they need to move those vehicles, or else we're going to have to come up and take a look at them. So those are some of our concerns currently. The big multiple construction projects, we have gotten concerns not just about parking and idling of vehicles and things like that. Sort of turning residential neighborhoods into construction zones is always a challenge. So obviously some of those trucks are going to have to be there. Some of those trucks are going to have to do things, but we do have concerns about making sure that people are as respectful of the people who live in the neighborhood as they can. So we're going to continue to work on that. To that end, we have had a couple people who pointed out a couple locations like Depew Street, the blocking the box, and we've sent officers down there to keep an eye on that situation. It's a lot of enforcement is very difficult because we are getting so much out of town traffic. Usually if we are doing speed on a certain, if we understand that a certain road is experiencing a high volume of traffic violations, we know that the same people are basically going to be on that road all the time. when all of a sudden people are getting off the Sawmill Parkway, we're a little less confident that a good round of enforcement is really going to change people's behavior, only because you're going to have a whole new group of people who are driving through at that time. So obviously some people are there at the same time, but obviously there's a lot of other people who are coming through there too. So we will continue to do our best and to work with the village and DPW to try to find solutions and do what we can to lessen the impacts and lessen the inconvenience of all these different things that are going on. And then, as we just talked about, the updating of the policies and procedures as one.
Can I hold you there for a second?
Sure, yes.
I was going to comment in announcements about the sawmill, but the state, as of November 1, is about to switch to the other side. Can you touch on that so people know what's coming?
Sure. So the state is moving on from working on the southbound side to working on the northbound side. The way they've described it to us so far is that they are going to still maintain one lane open in each direction for the time through. So we're not going to have a full detour as we've had at some points in the past. But Eric, unless you've heard something different, one of the things they are talking about doing is closing off the exit from the northbound Parkway onto Bedford Road. So just past 7-Eleven on the way out towards Pace, there's that exit that comes off the northbound traffic. That exit is going to be closed for, let's say, 12 months? About 12 months or so. There are other options, there are other opportunities for people to get off and make their way around if they usually use that exit, but we can expect to see some changing traffic patterns again as the construction continues.
Right. I mean, the reality is we're getting hit hard, and it's not going to be done for another year. So folks are concerned about it. This closing of exit 28, that northbound exit to Bedford Road, is going to be directed as a detour to Grant Street, which will only make that situation worse for the next 12 months. So
I mean, we're hopeful.
we just got to hang on, right?
Yeah, we're hopeful that people who would normally use that Bedford Road exit will get off and take the Taconic potentially and get off Bedford Road out by Pace. But we will see how that traffic pattern, because that Grant Street, people getting on at Grant Street has obviously become it's a doozy. So absolutely. And then, like I said, we're in the midst of finding our way forward on updating our policies and procedures, and that work will continue.
More detail on that in our work session earlier, which folks can watch on the tape.
Yeah, can I jump in on the parking question? So I'm here. I just want to say a couple more words about the Old Village and ask for your thoughts. So as predicted, with the return of everyone in the fall and the wonderful success of our businesses in the Old Village, the parking situation is definitely unsustainable at the dinner hour, especially. But it's a longish dinner hour from maybe 4 to 9. I mean, it starts pretty early. So we have approximately 25 employees at that time in the Old Village, plus all of the people who are patrons of all those businesses. I haven't been snapping photos because I don't want to be unsafe while I'm driving or biking to send you, but there's often 5 to 10 illegally parked cars at the dinner hour in that area. And it's an intersection that part of which, how narrow, I mean, it was made for horses. I mean, it's extremely narrow at that bottleneck. And I don't want to be alarmist, but I feel like something bad is going to happen. I feel like it's, literally just an accident waiting to happen with pedestrians, bikers, and all this illegal parking at that one spot, on a rainy night. It's just, so I don't know what the solution is, because as you said, we emailed about it once, and as you said, it's hard to change parking behavior. And a lot of these patrons are coming from other towns. So they're going to Kraft, or they're going to Don Juan, or they're going to the barbershop, and they say, I'll just park here for an hour, it's no big deal. So I don't know that ticketing affects that problem, because that person, unless they're real regular at one of these places. It'll have some effect, I guess. But I wonder if there's something else we can do with signage or with the presence.
Lot?
I'm sorry?
How well signed is our lot there?
The lot's full.
Well,
That's the
always
problem.
full, okay.
Full
Well, at
time.
dinner hour, it's full, yeah, that's why.
Full-time full,
That's
yes.
why they're parking elsewhere.
Okay.
You know, but even some kind of scarier signage like tow away zone or immediate towing at the dinner hour. I don't know what our official thing could be, but
What
I
it
mean,
is,
I know that I've,
don't even think of blocking the
I mean, you know,
box.
yeah, I mean, I know I've been to other towns where I pull somewhere and it says tow zone, you know, and you kind of recoil and you're like, well, it's not really worth it. So I don't know what to do, but I think the residents are fed up, and the business owners don't really see the problem. I've talked to not all. I've talked to most of the business owners at this point, and they just don't see it because they're inside. They're serving their dinner time rush, so they don't know who's where, you know,
Right.
and they don't really hear the problems because nobody, you know, no one reports it. So I've also talked to I've talked to the Methodist Church, I'll just say, about potentially allowing employees to park there so that relieves some of that problem. But then, of course, the businesses would have to make sure all their employees, you know, but that could really free up 10 to 15 spots if someone's on an 8-hour shift and they're up there. So I'm just curious for your thoughts about what, you know, it doesn't be right now, but I feel like it is a pretty big problem right now.
No, and I think, you know, part of the problem is there's just not enough spots, and there's
True.
You know, I mean,
But they can, I've talked to Pierre, they could park on Manville and walk 3 minutes. It's not that far, it's just a psychological barrier.
yeah, and
You know?
and again, I think when you talk to people who aren't from, you know, I don't think people who are familiar with the area would be, but you know, it's almost like it's like a brightly lit sort of area, and then all of a sudden, I think psychologically, when you sort of drive a little bit out of that, it sort of becomes, well, where am I going and what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I'm happy, you know, maybe the community committee that just formed that could be one of the first things that we tackle and look at.
Sure.
You know, part of the problem too is a lot of the people who are parking illegally are really there just to pick up, and especially in this day and age now, with so many more people doing takeout,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know what the numbers are, but I have to imagine that takeout is a much larger percentage of the business for a lot of these places now, and that's really where you get it. And so when an officer pulls up, and you know, everybody's kind of doing looking over their shoulder with one eye, waiting
Right.
for their food, and then somebody comes out. We haven't really, you know, usually if someone's there to move a car, we allow them to move a car. If it's an extremely egregious violation,
Yeah.
then we might, you know, we would, you know, not handicap spots, not fire hydrants, but you know, no
Yeah.
parking here to corner, things like that. If someone moves the car, the problem is as soon as someone moves the car, someone else is going to pull into the spot, and they're going to say, "Oh, hey, I got a spot."
Yeah.
So it's definitely a challenge because I don't know that I hopefully with signage or with some more advertising, we could get something for people to realize that there are other options far enough away that are potentially reasonable. But it's been a challenge in the past, but I think with especially with the advent, I mean, you know, Michael's used to be up there,
Right.
but people would take the time to walk because they knew they were going into a place they were going to be there for an extended period of time. So there's an illegal spot right in front of the place, or I could go 3 blocks and walk. I've probably got to go 3 blocks and walk because I'm probably going to get a ticket. Now with the takeout business, I think that mentality has changed a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think we can definitely talk about what are some other options to sort of
For deterrence. you know,
message that appropriately.
Yeah.
Something that I've seen that I think could work is my parents live up there. I grew up right there. I grew up
Yeah.
across the street from Michael's. So a lot of times there's a police officer parked at the fire station.
Mm-hmm.
They park right there. So when they park right there, I think no one really sees them. But if the police officer during maybe, you know, busier dinner times, especially on the weekends like Friday or Saturday, if they just sat on one of the front spots right next to Kraft, right there, I can guarantee you no one's parking in that corner. Because there's people are running in, you're right, it's 100% the people that are running in to get. It's the Ubers, it's the Uber Eats, the DoorDash.
And I must say, I've had a few conversations, they feel justified. If it's
Right.
just for a...
Right.
Right.
So I feel like, but if they see a police officer just parked there, because like I said, I see them all, I pass by there all the time. So I see either they're there sometimes or they're up at the Methodist church, you know, just kind of patrolling, seeing, because there's a lot of cars that are coming fast too. I think that's also a good spot to kind of people slow down because they're going right into the intersection. So I would try to see if testing that out could help. Just having a presence there to see if it minimizes, because I feel like if anyone's pulling up, I mean, that's just natural tendency. If you're pulling up to do something you're not supposed to,
Right.
and you see a police officer right there's a good chance you're gonna be like, I'm gonna need to find a spot. So I don't know if maybe that's a short term, something to try out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to commit to that as a tangible. I think when the officer's there, I think you're absolutely right that that's what's going to happen. But I also think I don't know that it's going to last too long after the officer goes. So I'm definitely not against it. I'm not saying it can't work or it shouldn't work or we shouldn't do it when we get the opportunity to. But as far as a long-term solution about changing people's opinions on how they park, I think it'll work while the officer's there. I don't know if the officer's not there if they'll get that same sense.
Warning, unexploded mines.
Well, I think, I guess I just wanted to voice it. It's only been an email up to this point, but
Yep.
it's not gotten better. And the Bedford Road line in front of Don Juan at one point was 15 cars parked. Well, there's spots for maybe 5, on one of these. And I think it was Friday night at the dinner hour. So we can talk amongst ourselves about signage that could be more stern.
Sure.
But we hopefully we can work together. I don't want people to get tickets. It's not
Well, yeah.
it's not something that we don't run for this office to try to give people parking tickets. But I really don't want to regret having not done anything if there's a bike car interaction at that intersection where we already know it's dangerous. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And then so we continue to update and renovate spaces within the police department as appropriate. And so we did complete a renovation. It was necessary. We had a bit of a water leak above our detective's office. Excuse me. Did not do catastrophic damage, but definitely provided us with an opportunity to update and modernize. A number of these spaces haven't been touched in the 20+ years since we've been in this building. So we had obviously Lieutenant Woolman and Lieutenant Liswan were very hands-on. All 3 of our detectives were very involved in the process of updating the detective's office to being more professional, cleaner, better use of the space that we had. So if you could just click through, we have a couple photos of the finished product. I always forget to take before pictures, so you don't get the full scope of how much better this is. But we put in some overhead recessed lighting, all new furniture, new carpet. DPW assisted us with the paint. They put the paint on the walls for us, they did a phenomenal job. Didn't do too much structural changes as far as moving wires or outlets or anything. We really wanted to keep it just to sort of the surface stuff, so we didn't go too deep into anything. But we think it turned out great. Looks phenomenal, and is a much more professional and appealing place for our detectives to work. So there's 2 more pictures, I believe, in there.
Between leaks and stoppages, Morrissey has now been anointed as an honorary master plumber. So.
At your service.
Super handyman. Do it all.
And there should be one more. And I believe
All that was needed in that space is a full window. A full window.
Well, that's actually, so where you see the whiteboard there,
Yeah.
that is a window that looks out into the hallway. But unfortunately, the way the lighting was, even though it was supposed to be tinted, so people were still able to see in a little bit.
Okay.
So we've tried a couple different things, and now we have a
whiteboard on the window.
So. And I believe
That's it.
that is it.
So a couple of questions. We had a discussion about a couple of bias incidents that were not reported to your department in the last couple of months, but in the process of that, I think we realized that there was at least one that was reported. My question, going back to your first slide on calls for service, is where do bias incidents fit in this list, and could we sort of segregate them out so that we can see if somebody's reporting being harassed on the basis of age, ethnicity, et cetera, that we would be able to know that separately?
Short answer is yes, we can. So many times, like for instance, some of these incidents when they've been reported to us, they come in as a youth complaint. As a group of kids, and then it's when we go down and continue our investigation that we sort of find out exactly what it is. I mean, every incident is slightly different. We've had sort of a similarity to some of the incidents that we've become aware of, but that doesn't necessarily mean that obviously bias incidents sort of fall into a category of sort of how they begin or where they come from. Unfortunately, there seems to be plenty of avenues to getting to these types of incidents. So if the question is, can we add that going forward to this? Absolutely.
Fantastic. Second separate question. So we had talked offline a little bit about training for de-escalation training, I believe. And the question I had, given the fact that we already see how much overtime you're using, and you obviously can't take a week off for the entire force to get trained, or all the officers are not trained. It'll take some time for that to happen in the natural course of events. Also, but the other part of that, though, is also the availability of the training, right? Not just the availability of the officers. So my question is, are they doing this training now at the police academy?
So the training does. So yes, when the training becomes available, it is through the training. Through
No,
the
I mean,
academy.
sorry. When cadets go through the
Yes,
police academy.
yes, that is that. So just to be 100% clear,
Yeah.
The training that we spoke about it's called crisis intervention training. And what it is, it's a 40-hour course. It details for officers, basically provides them. So some larger departments have specifically officers who are assigned as crisis intervention teams. And what they will do is they will remain in plain clothes, and when they have someone who is who would normally fall, if they have someone who would get a call about, but would not necessarily have a crime to respond to. It's a mental health call. It's a call for service. These officers go out and they handle that and use the training that they receive. When we have calls like that, we send our uniformed officers. Our officers are extremely empathetic. They're extremely professional. We do train on de-escalation. We do train on forget the name of the course, but it's basically training for all manner of situations. How do you talk to arrest a person who is blind or deaf? How do you handle a person who's in a wheelchair? How do you have a person who has intellectual or developmental disabilities? How do you deal with someone who is in an altered mental state? So we do train on those things. We talk about ethical and efficient ways to interact with people to get the best benefit. So the CIT training, as it's called, is that 40-hour class. A number of our officers have attended it. I have attended it. It is remarkable training. They literally incorporate, they will bring people who suffer from schizophrenia into the training, and they will talk to you as they are, and they will literally say, the voices are telling me this. Like, this is what I'm hearing right now. And it's startling. It's shocking when you're, we all hear and think we understand what mental illness looks like. We all think we understand what people might be going through, but to see it firsthand, it's incredibly powerful training. It is in high demand. It's an intensive course, and so it's not offered probably as much as we all would like to be able to get people into it. There are obviously departmental concerns when you're trying to send somebody to a 40-hour course. But that is something that we've made a commitment to, that when available and possible, we send someone to that course.
Right. So my question is, that has now been incorporated into the actual cadet training?
Yes, so officers who go through the basic school will get that entire 40-hour course as part of their curriculum.
And how often do they run that school per year for new cadets?
Oh, twice.
Twice. So is there a way that you could see if they would be willing to open up that specific module to additional officers from our department and other departments when they run that, just to try to increase the availability of that specific training?
I can ask.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have a couple questions. They should be relatively short. One was about Halloween. I've been getting questions in the Edgewood neighborhood about whether you're going to be closing off streets this year or what the plan is for Halloween.
So we just recently had this conversation downstairs. So our decision to close off Edgewood is usually made based on the anticipated number of people who are going to attend.
Mm-hmm.
I have not noticed, and I don't know that I missed it, I have not noticed that the Edgewood neighborhood folks have really invested so much in, let's put it this way, I don't get the impression that the people in Edgewood are expecting everyone to come there. I don't know if we've had any conversations.
I think we're going to get a lot of people this year. That's not based on any objective information. Certainly the decorations are going up as if it were a normal year.
Okay.
And so my hunch about this is based on things like Oktoberfest, where there seems to be this sort of pent-up desire for public events, and outdoor events I think feel safer to people. So that's why I'm guessing it's going to feel more like a normal year this year.
So we are prepared to go either way with it. It's because it's not a public event. It is really a private event, and I know last year especially there were very different opinions on as how organized or how invested the neighborhood would be in Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, last year we somewhat discouraged people from, particularly we were worried about too many people coming from outside of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the majority of people in the neighborhood sort of agreed with that feeling. But I'm guessing it's a different ballgame this year.
Yeah, I mean, if we're anticipating that it's going to be a normal year, then we can absolutely do that. Because I hadn't necessarily heard anything, I sort of was under the impression that it might be going in the direction of being a less than typical year. What I don't want to do is close off the streets if the neighbors aren't comfortable with having everyone there.
I mean,
Like
if it would help, I can circulate emails or text to get more of a survey of the neighborhood itself and then report back to you.
Yeah, so that would be great. My impression has always been that our action is a response to what the neighborhood does.
Right.
Not necessarily that, well, we're closing off the streets, I guess you guys are doing Halloween this year. So
Yeah, well,
you know.
I mean, it's not always the will of the neighborhood, though. It's also
Well,
because there are a lot of people who come from outside of Pleasantville. I mean,
and it got to a point, as soon as you put police cars and sawhorses and things up to block a street.
it's true. In a way, it encourages people.
And
yeah.
it kind of, I can't think of the word right now, but it legitimizes it.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
it's true.
Well, of course they want
Right.
me to come from wherever to do this. They've got police standing here to make sure I can do that safely. So
Yeah, no, it's tricky. But on the other hand, I do think it makes it safer for the kids. So I
1000%.
totally hear what you're saying.
if the neighborhood is willing to bear the
brunt.
the brunt of it again, then we can definitely
Okay,
do that.
I'll see what information I can get. And the other question I had, you can tell me this another time if you want, but I was just curious to hear more about Officer Zane's teaching of the 8th graders, what that consists of.
Sure. So he does a drug and alcohol unit,
Mm-hmm.
but also he's in the classrooms enough that he can pivot to other topics as necessary. We've never had DARE here in the village, but we did always sort of have the police department in the schools talking about drugs and alcohol. He does also talk to, I believe it's 10th graders with the Drive Smart program as part of from the Reflections group. The Gambinos have made that part of their mission to make sure that all these kids who are new drivers get the opportunity to learn about the Drive Smart program, and Officer Zane kind of comes in and spends a few minutes talking to them about what they can expect, were they to be pulled over, and what the requirements would be, and things like that. So the 8th grade it's part of the health and safety thing. You know, we're big believers, as the school is, that, you know, the safety and the well-being of the kids is really, it's the school, it's the parents, and it's the community. And so we sort of try to hold up our leg of that stool to make sure that the kids are kept safe.
Yeah, and I imagine that message might be more compelling coming from especially a young police officer than it might be from other sources.
I think so, and I think it's good too, because we really encourage Officer Zane to, obviously within respectable limits, but to allow the class to sort of go where it goes. We don't give him a curriculum and say, make sure they know this, and you know, they all better get an 80 on the test. If they have questions, if they have concerns, if there's something that they've heard about, we are encouraging the kids to raise their hand and say, Detective, what about this? You know, great if they do it in the classroom setting. Just as well if they pull them aside. Just as well if they reach out to them, you know, after hours and say, hey, listen, you know, and building those relationships. Obviously, there's information that we want these kids to have, and we think we're uniquely qualified to present it to them, especially because we do know the trends and we do know the things that are going on in town. But building those relationships it pays enormous dividends.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, other questions, other?
I have one tiny comment to report. Officer Donnell Charles has been wonderful.
Yeah, he's
in
really
the
good.
village. I feel like a lot of people know him already,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been a great kind of community police presence.
Yep.
And I just want to thank you for thank you for that hire, and thank you for your mentorship with him, and good job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Officer Charles came. You know, sometimes the guy just walks in and you're like, he's got what he needs. You know,
Yeah.
he came with the personality, he came with the experience.
Yeah.
That is I appreciate it, but that is so much a part of who he is and how he handles himself and his professionalism. The other officer who we hired at the same time, Officer Gustavo Paredes,
Yeah.
has done a phenomenal job for us. He never doesn't have a smile on his face. He's been great with the community. We're very lucky to have both of them and have brought them both in. And again, thank you so much to the board for your confidence and your support of the department in hiring both of them at the time. So very much appreciated.
Well, and thank you to Chief, not only for the search process you go through, but that was no small venture in the arcane world of civil service to make that happen. And despite the many
We don't
occasions,
speak ill of civil service involved.
why not? Despite the many occasions
they-
when one
they-
might have collapsed over the whole process
In-
before the finish line, you didn't. So.
Yes, in the end, we got through the process, and
Yeah.
We're very
Well,
thankful.
likewise to Eric and Noreen at the time. so.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you, Chief. I think tonight's discussion makes clear the value of these events.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Should we do our announcements now? It's our 9:15 beginning of our meeting.
Yeah. Apologies for those who were hanging on every word to hear our announcements. The first is what I hope is in everyone's mind, and that is Tuesday, November 2nd is Election Day. All registered voters should have received the postcard from the Board of Elections with your polling place, but early voting began this past Saturday and continues through Sunday, October 31. There are 23 locations in Westchester where you can vote. The closest to all of us is at the Mount Pleasant Community Center adjacent to the pool. And you can get more info on all of that at the County Board of Elections citizenparticipation.westchester.gov. Also want to point out to people that in addition to county offices that are up for election, there are 5 New York State ballot initiatives. I won't burden you with the details of what each of them are, but I encourage you to do a little searching online. Go to citizenparticipation.westchester.gov. The Journal News today had a description of each of the 5, so it would be helpful, I think, to every voter to have a sense of what's being proposed before you get there and have to decide. But I will comment that one of the ones that is of special importance. Pro or con is the first one, which is a proposal to amend the redistricting process by which state offices are determined. So again, take a look. A couple of things coming up. Obviously, we're in the Halloween week. The Ragamuffin Parade is on Saturday, a little bit later than normal, 11:30 a.m. lineup at BRS. Parade starts at noon and heads to Memorial Plaza. And then, David, you want to report the candy crawl schedule for the day after?
Sure, we're happy to be running the candy crawl for the second year. We are still a little bit short of candy, so we need, I think, somewhere around 7,000 or 8,000 pieces of candy, hopefully donated in the next 5 days, which would be awesome. We are going to have 3 routes running through the village, a red route, a blue route, and a green route. We have put them online already, but we'll be sending them out again, as well as blow-ups near the end of the week so you can see where the routes are. We are testing our ability to provide real-time location data, and we'll announce that, but we're hoping that we can have a candy crawl tracker, just the way that we have a Santa tracker when the Pleasantville volunteer fire department sends Santa around the village in December. We are thrilled to have not only all 4 of us trustees driving routes this year, Shane, who's our camera operator, but also the president of the Board of Education, as well as the Pleasantville Volunteer Ambulance Corps and the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department will all be joining us, so there'll be either a fire truck or an ambulance leading each route this year. And it's all going to be on Sunday, Halloween Day, between 1 and 3 p.m. So last year we got to every single street in both the Village of Pleasantville and the Pleasantville Free Union School District. Shane, we covered them all, right?
Yep.
Yep. And we will do that again this year, and we're very excited to do that.
Ambulance in the lead, so over sugar consumption is not covered.
Exactly.
All right. So we touched on a few of these. You want to update the south end of Memorial Plaza,
Sure.
Eric?
Yep. So the village's curb and sidewalk contractor is moving along with the curb and sidewalk replacement in Memorial Plaza. The sidewalk on the train track side is nearly complete.
It looks great.
Looks really good. Now they're moving to the south end bump out space and also some work on that median area that's on the Bedford Road side of Memorial Plaza. In the spring, we're gonna most likely the way the timeline is running now. During the spring, we'll move and do work around the gazebo. We'll do the curb line around that. But things are progressing really well, and happy with the contractor's work thus far. So we hit a good patch of weather last week, which progressed the project faster than we expected, which is great because this week we're in for a bit of a rough go of it.
So in that connection, I see the school district, Mary Fox Alter, just sent out an email expressing some doubt about what tomorrow morning would look like. What are you hearing, Eric?
We're hearing flash flood warning, expecting anywhere between 3 to 5 inches of rain over a 24-hour period, which is never a good sign. Could be higher amounts locally. We're expecting some rather strong wind gusts as well. The wind's more of a threat out east, but we've been in communication with Con Ed. They've got their emergency management protocols set up and ready to roll, along with Westchester County. We've proactively lowered the water level in Nanahagan Pond quite significantly in anticipation of the large rainfall, and the DPW crew was out clearing and checking on catch basins throughout the village. So doing our storm readiness protocols and wishing for the best.
Good for you.
So with the memory of Ida still fresh, this is the last thing on earth we were hoping would happen, but plan for the worst, hope for the best.
That's right.
Just a comparison, do we know what they were saying for Ida, or we expected in rain in comparison to this? Do you want to comment, Tom?
If I recall, they were expecting upwards of 8 inches of rainfall when Ida came about.
Okay.
And it's sometimes it's not necessarily the amount, it's the amount over what period of time.
Right.
So 5 inches of rain in 3 hours is going to be worse than 8 inches of rain over a 10-hour period. So, you know, it's Mother Nature at her finest.
Yeah. All right.
With a little human assistance.
Yeah, COVID update. As of today, we get numbers every weekday. As of today, Pleasantville has 10 positive cases. There were 3 new ones added to the list today, 845 cumulative. Give you a sense of the flow of things. 27 cases thus far in October. Likely will hit in the low 30s. That trends a bit above September, which was a total of 25, but still within shouting distance and way better than August, which had 78. So the takeaway message, obviously, as you all know, is that it's substantially better, but it ain't gone. So please be cautious and pay attention to the guidelines. We also encourage folks to obviously get vaccinated. Now that boosters are available for certain populations, we encourage those. It appears likely that kids will be able to get vaccinated down to age 5 in a short period of time. And I'm happy to report that both countywide and certainly in the Village of Pleasantville, we've had pretty broad acceptance of vaccinations, and that clearly is helping. So we talked about locking your car doors with the chief. Please lock your car doors. Cars getting stolen, not because they got broken into, but because the door was open and the key was in the car. So please stop that.
Cut it out.
He's not going to be as nice about it next time.
Yeah.
so.
Right.
There's your headline. For
Yeah.
Please stop.
Mayor to village, please stop.
Yeah. And then let me remind folks, one of the things we have on for discussion tonight is posting a public hearing for some revision of how parking is handled in Memorial Plaza, which would be a hybrid arrangement with, we have lower demand for parking via permit, higher demand for transient parking. You'll hear the details shortly, and we'll be posting it for public hearing for our next meeting. Then also posted for public hearing tonight for Monday, November 22, is a hearing on a proposal by our board to opt out of marijuana dispensaries and on-site consumption lounges. Varying reasons for doing that, but I think we are unanimous in the view that it's the right step to take right now. So that will be a public hearing on November 22. It's my expectation that that will be the same night that we have the resolution to opt out. You may have heard me comment in the past that we had received some advice to opt out at the last week of December for various scheduling reasons, no strategic reasons, purely scheduling, in order to protect us from additional cost in the hypothetical that there was a citizen petition to challenge the opt-out. Based on the feedback we've gotten so far, that seems like a very, very, very unlikely proposition, and so I think it likely that on the 22nd we'll have this hearing and the resolution.
Mhm. Sounds good.
That is my report.
That's the sub-headline.
All right. We have a relatively small number of resolutions tonight. Did anyone else, anything they want to bring up? Is there an announcement of any kind?
Where the Chamber of Commerce is working along with the Village Rec Department to do the Christmas tree lighting and it's not a menorah lighting, I think it's the dreidel lighting actually. Event that's gonna be in November. I'll get the exact date, but it'll be in November at the end of the month. So we're looking to move forward on that.
I had it down as Wednesday, December 1.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, sorry. So we're looking to do, hopefully bring it back to the chair of that event as well. And last couple of years before COVID, we had gotten some entertainment to come in and sing. We'd also gotten the I think it was the middle school chorus to come and sing. And then Pace University has always provided hot chocolate. So we're on, no pun intended, we're on pace to go down that direction. And hopefully we can get some people to come out and get some good weather.
And while Paul is speaking, I just wanted to say that Paul advocated pretty tirelessly with the board to put on the Oktoberfest, which was a striking success and had, I think, way more people than any of us anticipated coming to it. So
Thank you.
thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Appreciate it. Appreciate all the support.
Echo all of that, but despite promises, he did not wear lederhosen.
I should have, right?
Next year.
Next year, there's
No,
always
we
a
don't.
chance.
I'll order it in time.
Is there any comment from any member of the public on any subject? We have a few attendees by Zoom. I see none of them raising their hand. Okay, Paul,
Okay.
277.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 18th, 2021. The minutes are attached to this resolution.
Is there a second? Let me just share my screen.
Second.
Here. Hold on a sec here. Get back to here. I'll share this screen so the folks who are watching on Zoom can see it. Okay, we had a second. Comments, corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 278, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated October 25th, 2021 for the fiscal year ending 2022, covering check numbers 101-812-101877. From the general fund, $74,755.29. From the water fund, $5,017.12. From the capital fund, $38,437.64. From the refuse fund, $830.55. From the trust fund, $6,630 for a total of $125,670.60.
Is there a second?
Second.
Always pleasing to approve a relatively small number, all things considered, right?
That's right.
Can you promise it will stay this low forever?
I can't make any promises, but we'll try our hardest.
I was afraid of that. Comments, questions about the payment of claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 279, David.
Resolved, the Village Board hereby schedules a public hearing for November 8th, 2021 at 8 p.m. to consider introductory local law 7 of 2021 to amend chapters 173, section 71, and section 75 of the Code of Village of Pleasantville concerning parking in the Memorial Plaza parking lot.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, you want to give people the thumbnail sketch?
Sure. So the board is considering amending the village code to allow for parking for non-permit holders for more hours during the week, essentially. So what that would look like is Monday through Friday, only those with parking permits for Memorial Plaza could park from the hours of 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. From 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., that parking then becomes available to non-permit holders. Now, permit holders could still park at any point for free in the lot, but non-permit holders would have to pay either by pay stations that we'll be placing in Memorial Plaza or by the Pango parking app, again from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. On Saturday, that regulation runs from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. For non-permit holders. And permit holders would be able to park in Memorial Plaza without paying on Saturdays. And that's essentially the proposed local law in a nutshell.
So, two things to say about that. One is it's a reflection of the current times. We don't know what the future holds, but at the moment we have lower demand for permit parking and happily increasing demand for transient parking. And this is an effort to try to level that playing field and create fairness for all. Also, I want to give a shout out to Bill Stoller. I don't know if he is watching or not, but he sent along an email with a couple of useful suggestions that we have incorporated. So, as reported in the resolution, we'll invite public comment on this subject at our next meeting, November 8. All in favor?
And hold on, this, and the Saturday part will be added to the draft before the
That's
8th.
right. So we'll amend what's attached to this to incorporate that. It needs to be on the board's desk. Virtually is fine for
Yep.
10 days prior to the public hearing.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you for that, Michael.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye, motion approved, and if you have concerns, opinions, whatever, please visit us either via Zoom or in person, next meeting, November 8. Michael, 280.
Resolved that the village board hereby schedules a public hearing for November 22nd, 2021 at 8:00 p.m. to consider introductory local law 8 of 2021 to opt out of allowing adult use retail cannabis dispensaries and adult use on-site cannabis consumption establishments to locate within the Village of Pleasantville, as authorized under New York State Cannabis Law, Section 131.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those of you who watched our meetings recently have seen opinions on the subject. We encourage your comment in November 22 if there's something new to add. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 281, Paul.
Result that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of the following part-time recreation assistant, job code 269, as an as-needed basis. The name is Christina Matheson, the rate $50 per hour, effective November 12, 2021. For the youth programs, code A7324.101. Further resolved that such appointments are contingent upon successful completion of mandatory background checks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions?
That's a pretty good hourly
Yeah,
rate.
what's the rate?
So those, when you see rec assistants with that hourly rate, they're typically the ones that are doing classes, specialized classes.
I
So
see.
Okay.
the
Again,
fee.
on an as-needed basis, these are not everyday employees.
That's right. So we
Yep.
run the classes. We only run the classes when we have the enrollment, and the enrollment
Yep.
covers the pay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. I will stop the share. Hold on a minute, bring us back to center here. That's the last of our regular agenda items. I'll ask again if there's any comment from the public of any kind, via Zoom or in person.
Would it be appropriate to speak to the fact that we've kind of moved up the vote, or the public hearing on opting out of the dispensary? Because we had said that we would sort of let the public know what our position is on that. When are we planning to do that? Oh my goodness. I mean, I think we've kind of somewhat done it already. What was that?
Is that a transformer going out or something? Getting hit by lightning? Or?
There was some kind of.
That was thunder, I think.
No, that was definitely lightning too.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we saw that.
a serious crash, so.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
So, as mentioned, we're gonna have this public hearing on our second meeting in November, the 22nd.
Right.
And absent some new data coming to us that might change our view, it's my thought that we act on that resolution that night.
Right. So.
And as I mentioned, the reason that we're switching horses a little bit is that the issue that had been presented about the scheduling and a potential petition to reverse that seems massively unlikely and not something we need to worry about.
Right, and I just wanted to communicate that it was clear to us as a result of the two meetings that we held, and also through emails that we've received, that there is an overwhelming feeling in the community that the right thing to do is to opt out. For logistical reasons, we were going to hold off on that vote, but since the opinion seems to be so strongly held, we thought it would be appropriate to just go ahead and hold the public hearing. I just want to make that clear.
Mhm.
Right, thank you for that, Nicole, agreed. And full disclosure, there are plenty of people who disagree and who have commented offline about this, but I think Nicole's characterization of it is accurate. And as you doubtless heard in the work sessions, the decision to opt out is always reversible. Failure to opt out is not.
Correct.
Okay, is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss both a real property matter and a personnel matter?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you to Chief Grutzner for a worthy presentation that's worth folks watching if they missed it. We will see you on the second Monday in November, which is the 8th. Work session at 7, regular meeting at 8.
Are we joined? No, we're joined at 7:30, aren't we?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, hey, thank you for that, perfect.
Are we there or here?
That meeting, I should have had that on my list. That meeting, November 8th, is the joint meeting with the school board, which is scheduled annually, typically in the fall. And that will take place here, but at 7:30. Thank you, Michael, I had completely forgotten to mention that. So we will have our regular meeting after that, which could end up running a bit late, but the joint meeting of the Village Board of Trustees and the school board will be here this year. We alternate back and forth as the hosts. Monday, November 8th at 7:30 p.m. here.
So I was a little confused. So we are starting at 7:30. We're not starting at 7.
We're starting at 7:30, correct.
Okay.
I mean, we could elect to have a work session that starts at 7. I'm not sure that buys us much, so let's plan to meet at 7:30.
Just asking for clarity.
Yeah,
that's all.
we'll meet at
Okay.
7:30, and the school board will join us on that occasion, so. Worth noting, it's Mary Fox Alter's last such venture in a joint meeting, because she retires on December 31. So more will be said on that as the time approaches. Thank you all, and good night. See you in a few weeks.